What was that?
I'm gonna ask you one more time. See if Bizzy connects it. Bizzy, do you have 5 on it?
I
No,
No,
got
you
no,
don't.
what you
Okay.
five
saying?
on it.
Should I tell him, Sam?
He probably ain't gonna know what the reference is.
So I got 5 on it. It's a classic '90s song, whatnot. But the reason why, as of late
Oh,
years,
where like
Yes.
yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
the
What movie?
Nah, you kept saying it from fucking like with no like in monotone, so I had no idea what
Doom,
you were
doom,
saying. Yeah,
doom, doom,
it's
the Jordan
it's from
Peele's
it's from
Us
us.
doom,
Yeah.
gave
doom,
it new life. Yeah.
Yeah.
doom, doom.
All right, I'm
Man.
gonna go put a bullet in my head.
Oh god, that was a lot. Do y'all mind having like a small little 10-minute review on
We
this?
I don't
have to,
mind.
or we'll never get it done.
I don't mind. Yeah.
Okay.
It reminds me
I'm
a
gonna
lot
be
of when
so.
even when Jordan
What's up?
Peele used I got sunglasses that night and for no.
Something about horror movies. I mean horror shows. I just don't do it for me.
You know what's weird is that
It's because
Lovecraft.
I know it, I just want to get to the meat and potatoes. Like I don't like I know they're just gonna be teasing us all the way until the end. So it's just like let me get to the fucking bottom of it. Like I get it,
You
we're gonna get
should.
a few jump scares and that's gonna be like the episode, but like
So I'm gonna say this: the first season is it's not just that. Like
I need to watch
you're
it.
gonna get like each episode at a certain point. It's just gonna be hitting on top of your head. Like you're gonna get an explanation, and then you're just gonna be like traumatized. Then you get another one, traumatized.
Sam,
I actually preferred this because the first season was too much for me, to be honest.
Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Stephen King even said that's the scariest thing I've ever seen in a while. Whatnot. I'm pretty, unless I could be mistaken, but I think Stephen King gave it the thumbs up. Be like, this shit is it.
Yeah, it was very terrifying, and it was really freaking messed up. Like there are certain aspects of that that I don't think I'll ever watch the first season again. To be honest,
Oof.
like it was just too much. It
damn.
was too much
I
for me
got my
emotionally.
sunglasses at night.
Because the premise of it, as far as the first season, is you got like a black family essentially just trying to have their first home,
Yeah,
and the neighborhood they're moving into is an all white neighborhood,
yeah.
and it's in
Remember-
Compton. When Compton was
Whoa.
pretty much just primarily, people that were not of color, and the guy, her husband is an engineer, like she's a stay-at-home mom, but she lived through a terrible tragedy in their old house when they were in the South, and they moved this way to try to get away from the foolishness. And
Yeah.
they are just tormented. Like the kids are tormented, the dad's tormented, she's tormented, and it just is rough. Um, and some of the imagery, some of the stuff that they did in that, I can't believe they actually did on television.
AMC.
I never thought that they would actually do a second season after the things that they put in that. Yeah, yeah. I don't even want to repeat it here, but yeah, it's pretty rough. So I'm actually happy that they're drawing this out a little bit, but I mean, it's getting to the meat and potatoes of it. I mean, you guys didn't have any expectations of it at all. You didn't even know what it was, Ronin. I didn't know because I hadn't seen the trailer for the second season. But Ronin, I'll let you go first. What was your impressions of them, the Scare, second season?
It's a great 1-2 punch for what I saw. Because I'm from LA and because growing up, I heard a bunch of these stories of how uh, what's the right what's how wild the '90s were. Specifically, if you grew up in some of the poor neighborhoods of that city. So again, with me being born in mid '90s, just hearing the stories, I'm like, oh, this feels like what I was told when I was a kid and whatnot. And immediately once they show the date, I'm like, oh boy, this is around the Rodney King time. Oh boy, this is around when LA riots started kicking in, and to see the protagonist being a African American cop, and be like, how the fuck does that play in, especially in that time period,
Right.
um, was very surreal and creepy as hell. creepy as hell. But I'm very intrigued now to hopefully, if I have the chops and not the scared, no pun intended, to watch the rest of the series. And yeah, it was good. Also, it was a cool thing to see Wayne Knight, even though he's not in a role that I'm not a fan. Anyways, yeah. So good, creepy as shit. Sam, I can't believe you made me watch this.
Hey, look, it's my job, man. It's my job. Busy. What was your impressions on kind of where the story is taken and what's going on with it? Because again, you didn't have any preconceived notions about it. You
No.
haven't seen the first season either.
So
And I know you don't do horror either. So
no, yeah, it's not that I'm like against horror. Just it needs to be really, really. It has to have a really good story for me to actually like be into it, because the jump scares don't always do it for me. But the thing is, it's like no one's safe here, and that's kind of it's terrifying. But this dude right here is extremely unsafe. Like I don't know if he's gonna die or if he's gonna do the killing. It's like we're in a position where he's just extremely. We're seeing him extremely unstable. Like he is not right in his head, and I'm really worried. I'm worried because I mean I don't know how far he's gonna go. I don't know who the victims are gonna be, and at the same time, I love what we're doing with the whole detective and showing her family, but I don't know who's safe there. We thought Pam Grier was gonna get killed, and then we thought the son was gonna die. We saw him looking into the television, and that whole exchange was terrifying. But like, I don't know how this is gonna conclude, and that's the one thing that's really bothering me because it's like anybody's up next, and it's terrifying.
yeah, it's interesting, man. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, there's been plenty of times in just the first two episodes we watched that I literally did this,
Oh,
and
really?
I've done that, and I was like, nope, nope, nope,
Man, it was
and
messing up the hair, bro.
no, they did.
Glad
they
we
messed
caught that.
they messed that hair up. My hair was all over the place. But I think the reason why this works is because there's an excellent usage of space, camera work, and suspense. Like, some people know how to kind of like, oh, do turn to your right. Like, they build up with very little room in a confined space. Like, sometimes some of the shots are just focusing in on one specific thing, and they do a wide pan out. Sometimes they'll use sound or a soundtrack to kind of motivate you, give you an invoking feeling, and then kind of switch it up and go back to another place and then go right back. It's very few shows or movies that can go and transition between one scene to another and still keep the same amount of suspense. Because again, there's two different rival storylines going on. And I I initially was kind of like, I don't know, like why they're doing this other storyline with this one character, even though the actor is doing an amazing job. He is doing
Yes.
so good.
Yeah.
But Deborah's character in this, she's a very interesting character because she's dealing with, I think it's possibly anxiety. I think she might have anxiety or a panic attacks possibly because at times she holds her chest whenever she's really deep into something or she's like at a loss. And then with him, there's absolutely some trauma there, but we don't know what's the invoking trauma. We just know that he has um unrelatability with people. Like, he doesn't really know how to relate. I don't think he has a dissociative disorder, but I do think that he might have some psychopathic tendencies. And like the way that his character, his trajectory, is anything can happen, to be quite honest with you. And because we don't know the levels of the supernatural elements of this, I think that's why this works to me better than the first season. Because with this, it's not just trauma for the sake of it. Because the other crux of this, and I'll say, whenever you guys look at their reactions on whatever channel this is going to be on, whether it's Bizzy's or Ronin's, I say quite a bit, that's racist. And there's a lot of different racial things that are said against people of color in this. I mean, specifically to Black people. I mean, throughout the whole entire series. And I mean, that's a big pivot point because of the era and what's going on during that time, and specifically where that's at. The racial tensions are very high. So they use like a natural plot point, like, Rodney King situation. Like, I don't want to spoil it, but there are certain things that are happening in that specific time frame that's going to invoke a level of like anxiety and fear because of it. But they're using supernatural elements and the two storylines to throw you off to see where it's going to actually go. And I think I think that's really interesting. I mean, I'm thrilled, but I'm terrified. I don't want to see anymore, but I really do. I think that's where
I
I'm kind of at.
I won't give away details about what I'll tell you right now. I'll tell the boys afterwards. But again, growing up in LA, I heard a lot of stories from both sides of my family of how it was just living in LA that time, just living there, and the fact that some of my families had to cross through, Compton, South Central, where the riots were like at its peak, and just the details I was told of how we had to get around work and had to avoid the cops and shootings. When again, there's supernatural stuff element to it, but I think you said it best, where like the grounded level is matching the supernatural that just so happens to be hearkening what's happening in this time period with this community. And yeah, man, I was the nonchalant look about all this was the heartbreaking side. You're like, Jesus Christ, people at that time don't really give a shit, and for better, whether people want to admit or not, some of that trouble, some of that blindness still carries on to this day, which I think
Yeah.
makes the show very revelatory and again, like you said, Sam, maybe hard to watch. You said the first season was hard to watch, and I can only imagine how people are gonna be like watching this, and even the acting part. I was just like, how are people viewing this? How
Yeah.
is this man getting another job? And I think you said it best about how two stories go in parallel. And sometimes in other shows, maybe one story is more stronger than the other. And this one, both of them are just as strong as the other. You'd
Yeah.
be like, hopefully this person can get a job and maybe go out with his date, but I'm like, oh boy, but is he gonna turn into a serial killer in real life?
Yeah, you just don't know. You don't know if the writers are trying to play up the fact that,
Oh,
people's perception would be that this big black guy is going to turn this. You don't know. We really don't know. But
yeah.
I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued. Again, I'm not going to ever watch the first season again. But I at least at this point now, unfortunately, need to go and follow this through, and hopefully these guys will follow through with me. What were you guys' closing thoughts and letter rate at this point?
I am really excited to see how they close this out. I mean, as for horror shows, I haven't really watched many, so it's like I am kind of excited to finish this. I'm not gonna lie, but as for the first episodes that we watched, oof, I want to give it a B plus, because I still got a lot more to be excited for, but it hasn't fully grabbed me. That makes sense.
No, that's all good. Dude, you got thrown into this.
Yeah,
you weren't born into it. You were molded by it.
I
Here we
was
go.
molded by it.
Ronan, what about you?
I think I'm around the same ballpark as Busy. I might give it an A minus just because technically I'm like, yo, this is fucking good, but I don't know if I should be watching this at night. So yeah, so A minus, B plus. It's stuffing. It's now on my radar, and it's something that I'm not used to watching. I like horror movies, just not. It's weird. Slashers aren't my thing, but I'll watch something like The Shining or Alien or Jordan Peele's movies right now, or something that's in my lexicon and whatnot. So I'm intrigued to it, and yeah, I'll watch this with you as long as we don't watch it at night because I got enough shit to deal with. And also
yeah,
stellar cast. I have to say. I mean, when you spotted Pam Grier, I was like, "What, Pam Grier?" And then yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna give like MVP to the guy on the right, man. This don't even look like him in
Guy's
this.
killing it.
His name is Luke James, and honestly,
well
I
done.
mean, I'm looking at both of these. I'm like, this is not that man's a chameleon. Because I mean, he looks so cool in these two
Mm-hmm.
shots, but yeah, that is not what you see in this show, and he is completely committed to it. But yeah, now my roundabout thoughts of it, I am a little concerned about how the story is going to go, just because again the first season was really jarring, and it is something I would never watch again. But I am intrigued to see, much like American Horror Story, like different seasons have different strokes and hits differently. And I'm hoping it's the same for this one, that this maybe give me something different. I am curious to see what is the theme and the goal of what they're trying to invoke in this one. Because I mean, it is an actual place in history, but at the same exact time, there has to be a reason what they're doing with this. And so hopefully they actually give a good rational reason as to how they're trying to tell the story and what they're trying to invoke. And hopefully it's not an invoking of fear or, that's the one thing I just don't want. And that's not something that we need right now. But for me, I give it a A- to a B+ right now. I'm sitting more at a B+ because I'm a little apprehensive. But to be fair, like some of the shots and some of the way they're doing from a thriller standpoint, they're drawing me in. And I didn't think that I would want to watch episodes back to back like I did. And the fact that all this is coming out all at once. So I don't know how you guys are gonna binge it, but please don't binge it at night. Please at least try to watch it midday and then continue, because you're gonna be messed up if you try to watch this back to back.
They're dropping this all at once.
I believe so. I could be wrong. Things may change.
What the
But anywho, shout out to Amazon for yet another one. And where can everybody find you guys content?
Bizzy Braun everywhere. Bizzy Reactions on Instagram, and then over here in TeamJVS.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nice.
Ronin.
You can find me at Ronin Unchained on YouTube, on the socials, and sometimes hanging around at TeamJVS watching creepy shit like this.
Let's get unchained. But we're gonna go, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe to the bell button. Go and check out their respective channels and their content. If you want to see me reacting to craziness, go and check it out on their channels, because we don't do it here. But we're gonna go. Peace, people.
Filing out the top.